Hello, welcome back to Open Toolbox. Today we're going to talk about one-page layouts. Very common thing today is for a website to have one page. More and more people are using social media, other tools, third-party resources to do a lot of what their interactions with their clientele require. So a lot of people are choosing to have very simple websites. And sometimes you just want one page. It helps to drive traffic in one direction, to simplify things and keep the flow of customer choices smooth and easy, to drive call to action for people to do things directly. So let's jump into it. And I'm going to show you this layout right here. We're going to create this in Divi real quick and easy. So let's jump into it and I'll show you how we did it. So let's talk quickly about some of the purposes of a one-page website. On a one-page website, you want to drive choices down to a simplistic tree, if you will. So we want to give at most two decisions. Either make the decision, buy now, register, whatever your call to action is, your purpose for this website. That's choice one, and choice two would be I'm not ready to make that choice, so make me more comfortable with it. Explaining how it works, showing demonstrations, or giving more information about the process until the customer or user is ready to make that choice. Whether this is a single event you're promoting or a single product you're selling, whatever it is, a one-page website is a great way to avoid somebody just getting lost on your site. The old-fashioned thing people used to do is build a big site with big navigation every time, even when it wasn't necessary. With a lot of people doing their communication on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they feel like the website doesn't need to be the hub anymore of the constant posts and marketing. It's more of the point where you make a decision. It's the place you point all those social media to, and when people get to here, it's a matter of making a final call to action or doing something. So what we're going to try to accomplish here is to have options that pretty much just keep it all on one page. We don't want to take the user anywhere else, minus maybe some social media links. But our goal is to get people to that final choice or decision, whatever action that is. And that's the entire purpose of the website. So we're going to go through how we did this using Divi, and let me just show you on the back end what we did. So step one is to install Divi on a WordPress site. Once you've done that, you're going to get the default Divi layout, which is fine. The default Divi layout is pretty decent out of the box. We're not going to care too much about it because people aren't going to see it. They're only going to see the one page we're going to show them. But that being said, there are more ways that users can get to the site. For example, a 404 error. If someone types in a bad address, they're going to get a 404 error, and that's going to display through Divi. So it's important to go ahead and lay out the Divi settings, inserting your logo into the Divi theme options, setting up a basic menu with just a home button. But this is what people are going to see from the get-go, is just blank pages in Divi. So what we're going to do is set up the home page system real quick. But you want to make sure to not forget to actually configure the site as if it is going to grow into more pages. Because that's kind of the goal sometimes, is to have that ability to easily create new pages on the go if you need to. And you don't want to have to accidentally just have someone show up and see a bunch of Divi credits and logo at the top of the page if they hit a wrong page or get sent to a secondary page through WordPress by some means. So that's the first step. Get that cleaned up, set up just a default layout in Divi the way that it would look for default if you needed somebody to hit a page. After that, you're going to go in and create two pages, a blog page and a home page. This is important because WordPress needs a place to call the archive, a place where blog posts go, the way you access those. WordPress needs that. It may not use it, you may not be blogging on the site, but WordPress wants it, so we create a blog page and just generic default page, and I've got a blank page called home here. Then we're going to go into our settings and go to reading. You can also access through the Divi customized layout options. But I'm just going to go in here. This is a main WordPress function here to set a home page. We're going to set that to home, and then we're going to set the post page to blog. That's going to allow us to, when people visit the site, instead of getting the archive first, or the blog list first, they're going to start getting the home page first. Save those changes. And now if we go back to our site and we go home, our home page, the base URL is going to be this blank page we created. So let's go edit that page, and I'll show you a quick layout here that I like to use. And one really important thing to note is under page attributes, by default it'll be the default template. We want to change that to blank page because we don't want Divi to stick the header and the footer onto the site. We just want the body copy, the part that we're editing here. That's what we want to show up. So be sure to change the template to blank page. So first things first, we're going to use the Divi builder for this page. Now I've already got a layout, so I'm just going to load it in from the library. You can of course start with any of your layouts that Divi comes with, but this is the kind of the layout I like. We're going to start with a full width header, and I think that's the biggest part of the one-page layout that I use a lot for one-page websites in Divi, because it by default is set up with a couple buttons, a page title and subtitle, a little bit of body copy. So that layout right there gives you a lot of flexibility to introduce somebody to the concept of what you're trying to talk about, and gives you the flexibility of creating a page. Now the important thing is the button URLs. We don't want to put full qualified URLs in there. We just want to put these little hashtag links. And what these are links to anchor tags on the page, or to IDs. So when we put a hashtag and then we put a name, we need to have an ID set on the page that's called by now. We'll also have one for learn more, and I'll show you how I did that. So just put in title, subtitle, some button names. You only really need one to drive them down the page, and then your content and copy. It's important or helpful if you're using logos or images. Divi has some default layouts. The logo goes above the title and subtitle, whereas the header goes to the right by default. So I've used the header here to put my logo in. I've also got a transparent PNG image. You can create those in Photoshop, and that makes sure that whatever the background is behind my logo shows up behind it, and that just gives a nice clean look of design. Now that leads us to our background. One of the things I've learned that I kind of like about Divi is this ability to stylize the backgrounds with overlays. So for example here we have the background color, which is this light blue, and we have the background image. Now when you put the background image in, by default it's just that image. The blue doesn't interface with it, but like if you'll notice here, let me change the settings, you can see if I set it to normal, this is a black and white image. There's no blue in it. But when I set the overlay background image blend to screen, if you know Photoshop, you'll be familiar with these terms, but screen means that only the white parts will show and the dark parts will be more transparent. And so the dark parts are allowing the blue color to come in from the background. This effect allows you to take some stock images that you use quite often and just kind of drop them in, but also stylize them a little differently each time. You can, if you had a different section of the website that was different colors, you could use the same image but colorize it using this effect. The other options here let you change the orientation of the image itself. You can use parallax effect, which will allow the background and the foreground content to scroll at different rates, which gives you a 3D kind of look, kind of like the early iPhone interfaces were really cool, made you feel like it was a 3D environment. that'll work. That's a neat function, but for what we're doing, I'm going to keep it more static and just use that image blend to get a nice color arrangement. I also want to take into account when I'm picking what I want to do. If I got a transparent image, it needs to be able to pop on the background. So I've used a light background. I've lightened up the dark lines using the overlay to that light blue, and it gives me the look that I want. So that's all we really need to do in here. Of course, I also need to make sure under the Design tab settings that my text orientation is the way I want it, and also the text color is dark right now. We want to keep it dark. But if you had a dark background, you want to make sure to change that to light. So once we've set up our full width header image, from there it's just about content. And you can just lay out the content based upon what you have for this project and what needs to go in where. The section here, this blue section here, is the entire section that I'm calling Learn More. So I go in and I need to make sure that I have an ID set for this section. So I go to the Settings tab, and under the Advanced tab, I make sure the CSS ID is Learn More, the same I used in that hashtag for the button. That's what drives the content where I can click on the button and it leads me down to this point on the page. As for the content itself and the design, these sections, it's good to have content that flows structure to structure, so some contrast. Because I have a light colored header, the first thing I want to do is probably have some contrast to the next section. So that's why I've chosen to have a gray background here. I'm using blurbs for this little boxes here. So if I have 3 major points that convinces people how this works, then I can put those in there with some images that correspond. I have a section for social media because sometimes that's important. Don't have it linked here because I just assume the user is going to click how it works, and then they're going to scroll from that point on. And wherever they end up, we want to make sure the last thing they have is that call to action. Even if it's a repeat section, we want to have some kind of call to action that just draws them down. Now this could be a form. This could be a link to a third-party purchase site, or really, anything. It could be that the call to action is your social media, if this is a one-page website for a social media campaign. But that's pretty much the layout. We just make sure that the titles, the links here match the IDs for the sections, and that way the links go through and people can navigate through the site that way. But it is just one page. Users can't get lost going anywhere else. They're just driven down to making this one choice about the site. And I find Divi to be a great layout engine for this. I will try to export the actual Divi layout I've got here and put it as a link in the description of this video. And if you want to download it and use it as a base, that's great. And that way you'll know kind of all the tricks I use to do it. Otherwise, if you need any help with your website, need help customizing Divi or custom plugins, we can do it all. So give us a call at Main Street Open. Go to mainstreetopen.com and fill out a form. Just let us know how we can help you. But this hopefully will give you an idea of what can be done to create a quick and simple one-page website and the benefits of a one-page website as a solution for a project or a very specific campaign. This has been Open Toolbox, and thanks for joining us. Bye.